before men were anything more than fleeting breath upon the vastness of existence, before the earth had tasted the warmth of humanity, they walked, giants not of flesh and blood alone, but of a darkness born from the forbidden communion of angelic spirit and mortal form. They walked, and all creation trembled. In the shadows of ancient history, beneath the dust and echoes of long-forgotten ruins, lie whispers of beings so terrible that humanity itself has tried, for centuries, to forget them. The Nephilim, their name alone enough to send shivers down the spine of even the most steadfast believers. Few records remain that speak of them, and even fewer dare to recount the full measure of their presence upon the earth. For the Nephilim were not born as men are born. They were birthed through the union of fallen angels and mortal women, a transgression against the very order of the heavens. The book of Genesis recounts them in veiled language, a brief mention of their kind, hinting at their vastness, their power, and their sins. But among the lost scrolls of the Apocrypha, in the darkened corners of forgotten libraries and the cryptic, disintegrating pages of forbidden lore, lie fuller accounts of their existence. The Nephilim were giants, both in stature and in spirit, titanic beings who towered above men as if they were ants, with bodies that rippled with the strength of gods. But it was not their size that most terrified those who beheld them. It was their eyes, glowing, fevered, hungry. Eyes that held the weight of an unquenchable fury, of lusts and desires too vast for mortal comprehension. Legends tell of the days before the flood, when the Nephilim roamed freely across the lands of men. They lived without care for the laws of nature or the morality of man. They did not merely live, they conquered. Villages, cities, entire kingdoms fell to their relentless might, their towering forms casting shadows that swallowed the sun and chilled the earth. They erected massive fortresses, ziggurats, and temples to their own power, towering structures built by the trembling hands of enslaved men, forced to toil under their crushing rule. And in these high places, the Nephilim reveled in dark ceremonies, rituals that defied God, summoning powers that twisted the very fabric of reality. In those dark times, humanity cowered. Men and women abandoned hope, knowing that at any moment, a shadow could descend from the mountains. A Nephilim warrior, towering like a living monolith, eyes aglow with an insatiable hunger for destruction. Entire families vanished in the night, torn apart by colossal hands that left villages scattered with remnants of bone and ruin. The Nephilim had no remorse, no concept of mercy. To them, humans were little more than chattel, creatures to be bent to their will or crushed beneath their heels. The Nephilim themselves were not content with merely ruling humanity. In their dark hearts, they felt a rage that was as much a part of them as the blood that flowed through their monstrous veins. This rage found its outlet in endless wars, for even among their own kind, peace was a foreign concept. The Nephilim gathered in great war bands, marching across the earth like living storms, wielding weapons forged from strange, otherworldly materials. Their battles shook the earth, and when their weapons clashed, it was as if the skies themselves screamed in agony. Men whispered tales of Nephilim warriors who stood upon mountains, their voices echoing like thunder, calling out the names of rivals in a challenge to the death. Their battles were spectacles of horror, and their wounds healed with unnatural swiftness, so that what should have killed them left them only thirstier for blood. And when the victor stood amidst the slain, the survivors could only weep, for the price of this victory was always paid in the blood of the innocent. But the Nephilim were not simply creatures of strength and might. They were beings of an unnatural hunger, a need that could not be sated by mortal means. They took from the earth itself, demanding tributes of food, livestock, and children. The people of the land, driven to madness by fear, sacrificed all they had in a desperate attempt to appease the giants. Yet the Nephilim only laughed, their voices booming across the valleys, mocking the trembling mortals who believed they could buy mercy from those who knew nothing of the word. In secret, men began to seek the counsel of ancient prophets, those who claimed to hear whispers of a power greater than any seen upon the earth. These prophets spoke of a god beyond imagining, a force that could extinguish the light of the Nephilim as easily as a man snuffs out a candle. But the Nephilim scoffed at this god, seeing themselves as untouchable, beings who had transcended both mortal and divine limits. And yet, in their arrogance, they invited the very wrath they mocked. It was then, at the height of their tyranny, that the heavens darkened. The scriptures tell us that God, in his infinite power and mercy, looked down upon the world and saw the evil that had festered upon it. The Nephilim, born of rebellion and lust, had become a blight upon creation. Their existence was an affront to the natural order, a stain upon the purity of his design. And so, with a power unfathomable to mortal minds, God cast judgment upon the earth. The skies grew black, and a deluge unlike any that had ever been seen was unleashed. Rain poured from the heavens, filling valleys and plains, consuming everything in its path. The waters rose, swallowing cities, forests, and mountains alike. The Nephilim, in their pride, had thought themselves invincible, but as the floodwaters rose around them, even they felt the icy grip of fear. One by one, the giants were engulfed. Their voices, once so full of scorn and hatred, became cries of terror, drowned beneath the relentless waves. Men and women clung to rocks and trees, watching in horrified awe, as the very earth seemed to reject the creatures that had defiled it. The ground trembled, as if purging itself of the Nephilim's dark presence, and for a moment, it was as though creation itself sighed in relief. Yet even in this act of judgment, there was mercy. For while the Nephilim perished, humanity was given a chance to start anew. God spared a chosen few, those who had kept faith amidst the darkness. Noah and his family were saved, a remnant to rebuild, to learn, and to remember. When the waters receded, the world was a scarred and changed place. The Nephilim were gone, but their legacy lingered. In the silent ruins of their once great fortresses, men found strange artifacts, fragments of weapons that still glowed faintly with a light not of this world, bones that dwarfed any known creature, and markings on stone that defied all attempts to translate. The memory of the Nephilim became a shadow that haunted the corners of the earth, a reminder of the terror that had once walked among men. And yet, it was not only fear that the people carried with them, it was faith. For in the darkest hour, when all seemed lost, they had been delivered. The faithful saw the flood as both a cleansing and a testament, a sign that no evil, no matter how great, could stand against the will of the Almighty. They built altars and temples, and each generation taught the next to remember both the terror of the Nephilim and the mercy of God. In time, stories of the Nephilim became myths, then legends, until they were little more than distant memories. But the faithful never forgot. In the hearts of believers, there remained a quiet strength, a reminder that while the power of evil could be vast, it was nothing compared to the boundless mercy and might of God. And when they prayed not only for protection from evil, but for the wisdom to recognize the gifts of faith and the courage to hold to it, even when the shadows grow long and the giants seem to rise again.